It is said that she ran the most orderly of disorderly houses anywhere around. Hey everybody, this is Russ from Family Tree Nuts, and I'm in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm at Calvary Cemetery on the north side of town. And I'm at the graveside of somebody that many of you have heard about, and many of you that have heard about her won't admit that you've heard about her. I'm at the graveside of famous Madame Belle Breezing. In 1860, Mary Belle Cox was born as the illegitimate daughter of Sarah Cox, who was a dressmaker and also known to be a part-time prostitute. Shortly after her birth, Belle's mother, Sarah, married George Breezing, who ran a local saloon here in Lexington. By 1866, Sarah and George divorced, and Sarah was now a single mother trying to take care of her daughter. She was in a desperate situation and did what she had to do to survive. By age 15, Belle was pregnant, and it was suspect as to who the father was. There was 3 candidates. Much drama ensued from the situation, and by the end of the story, one of the candidates had been shot in the head and another one had fled the city, which was quite an interesting side mystery to Belle's story. Shortly after, Belle gave birth in 1876 to her daughter, Daisy May. This was a very difficult year for their family, and they had fallen behind in their payments. And while Belle was at the funeral of her mother, the home that she rented was being locked up. Belle could not even get to her own belongings. Belle and her young baby Daisy May were turned out into the streets. It was determined later on that Belle's daughter Daisy May suffered from mental disabilities, and Belle was not able to take care of her anyway, so she gave her up for adoption. Daisy May lived out the rest of her life in Cincinnati and Detroit. Belle went back to doing what it took to survive. She took to the streets. These years were extremely hard on her, and by 1879, Belle and her friend Molly Canton tried to commit suicide by taking morphine. In that same year, 1879, Belle was recruited to work at a brothel ran by Jenny Hill. Now this brothel was actually at the former home of President Abraham Lincoln's wife, Mary Todd Lincoln. And this house exists today. You can go and tour it. Belle was not your normal lady. She was quite smart and very enterprising. And by 1881, she rented a house at 156 Upper Street and started her own brothel. The next year, in 1882, she gave birth to a stillborn baby. Belle came from extremely humble beginnings, but she had a taste for the finer things in life. She wanted the best of everything. She was known to take trips to Cincinnati and even New York City to buy fancy lamps, fancy mirrors, and furnishing for her brothel. She believed that to get the biggest dollar, she had to have the nicest place around. She had many influential clients, including politicians, judges, lawyers, local wealthy businessmen. That's the kind of crowd she ran with. In 1882, she was arrested for keeping a bawdy house. But it wasn't long until Belle was actually pardoned from the governor of Kentucky. That shows you the kind of circles that Belle was running in. By the next year, Belle bought her own house at 194 Upper Street and opened up another brothel. And it's about this time that she hooked up with her lifelong partner, a Mr. Billy Maybon. Now, Billy Maybon was the brother-in-law of Colonel Robert C. Morgan, who was the brother of General John Hunt Morgan. I'm quite certain you've heard of him. Belle ran in high society circles, but could not show her face among the ladies. There was always murmurs and whispers whenever she walked down the road. The ladies of the community pushed hard to close down the brothels, and by 1889, the Lexington newspaper had published a front-page article to close down Belle's brothel and 2 others. Right about this time, Philadelphia millionaire William M. Singerly helped Belle buy her own place at 153 McGowan Street, which is now at 153 North Eastern Street in Lexington. About this time, Belle began to get clients from all over the country due to the horse industry. Men would come in for business, stop in at see Belle's place, and it wasn't very long that the word of her place spread out all over the country, and she got quite a name for herself. In 1895, the house was destroyed by a fire, but this time they added a 3rd floor, so business must have been good. Like we said in the beginning, Belle ran the most orderly of disorderly homes. She had rules for her girls that worked there. There was no cussing, no smoking, no drinking alcohol in front of the public. The ladies had to wear nice evening gowns and look their best all the time. And they weren't allowed to sit on the porch or hang out of the windows and solicit business. She truly wanted her business to be a classy place. In 1898, the Spanish-American War erupted, and troops were stationed in Lexington. Many of those troops visited Belle's place. This assisted the growth of her name because after those troops went home, they told the story of Belle Breezing's place. Belle ran a dishonorable business, but she tried to be an honorable person, and she tried to give often to charities. At one point in time, a hospital in Lexington had burnt up, and Belle donated all fresh new linens to the hospital. When the hospital found out where the gifts came from, they promptly sent them back. In 1915, the temperance movement was in full swing, and there was a huge push to close any place that offered alcohol, and especially close brothels. Belle ignored this push and kept her doors open. In 1917, the United States entered into World War I, and once again, Army troops were stationed in Lexington. The Army ordered that in order to maintain readiness of the troops, all brothels were to be closed. It was in that same year, her lifelong partner, Billy Maybon, died. So in 1917, Belle finally closed the doors to her brothel. But she lived in the house for another 23 years until she died in 1940. Many people stopped by over the years just to say hello to Belle Breezing. Quite often, many of them came at night so people wouldn't see them there. In 1940, Belle died of uterine cancer. And when she died, she had been addicted to morphine for over 40 years. She's buried right here in Calvary Cemetery and has this simple headstone right here. The headstone next to her says Mother. It's a little bit difficult to find, but you can find her by looking for the road that's just to the side of her. And hopefully this video will help you find it as well. Belle was such an influential woman that Time magazine published her obituary. The Lexington newspaper ran her eulogy on the front page. And they had an auction at her house for 3 days to auction the fancy furnishings of the house. It is said that one of the silver bedpans sold for $400. I wonder where that bedpan is today. The house was then converted to apartments. In 1973, the house burned down and was unsalvageable. Bricks were sold to the public that said, "A brick from Belle Breezing's home, the most orderly of disorderly homes." Some believe that the Gone with the Wind character, Belle Watling, is based off of Belle Breezing. And the two were very, very similar for sure. Another interesting note is it is said that one of her former houses has been used as the locker room of the women's athletic teams of Transylvania University. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's a neat little story. Anyway, I wanted to take you to this unique spot of Belle Breezing, who ran the most orderly of disorderly homes. And hey, remember, family tree nuts. Let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree. Like what you see? Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the little bell so you get notifications as to when we post new videos. And you can find out more about us and contact us at familytreenuts.org.